Welcome back to our channel. Turn a penny into a treasure, the 1-cent coin, where every small step in history counts. The year 1984 was one of many notable events in history. The U.S. economy was growing steadily, with consumer confidence high, and global political dynamics were shifting with the final years of the Cold War. Technology was advancing, with personal computers becoming more common in homes and offices. But in the world of coinage, a subtle yet significant event occurred that would go largely unnoticed by most people at the time: the minting of the 1984 U.S. 1-cent coin, commonly known as the penny. As one of the most frequently used coins in American daily life, the penny has always been an interesting symbol of the nation's economy. It's small, it's often overlooked, and it's frequently found lying around in drawers or tossed into coin jars. The 1984 penny, like many of its predecessors, didn't seem special at the time of its release. But what many people didn't know then, was that certain versions of this seemingly ordinary coin would eventually become highly coveted by collectors, fetching extraordinary sums in the world of numismatics. To understand why the 1984 penny would become such a prized possession in the future, it's important to delve into the historical and cultural context of the coin, its design, the minting process, and the unusual circumstances that led to its rise in value. In 1984, the U.S. Mint was continuing its long-standing tradition of minting the penny with the iconic portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, the front of the coin. This design had been in place since 1909, when the U.S. Mint honored Lincoln's legacy with the first-ever portrait of a U.S. president on a coin. The design, created by sculptor Victor David Brenner, featured Lincoln in profile, a dignified, stoic figure that quickly became one of the most recognizable images in American currency. On the reverse side of the 1984 penny, the traditional design featured the Lincoln Memorial, a tribute to one of the nation's most revered presidents. The memorial, which stands in Washington, D.C., was designed by architect Henry Bacon and was officially dedicated in 1922. It's one of the most iconic symbols of American democracy and freedom, and its image on the reverse of the penny served as a reminder of Lincoln's role in preserving the Union during the Civil War and his enduring impact on the country. While the design of the 1984 penny was largely consistent with previous years, there were small but important details about its minting process that would make this particular year stand out in the future. As with every year, the U.S. Mint produced millions of pennies at various facilities across the country. Pennies were being made in large quantities to ensure a steady supply of low-denomination currency for daily transactions. However, among the billions of pennies struck during 1984, a few rare errors occurred that would go on to define the coin's future value. Minting errors, particularly those made during the coin's production process, are a fascinating part of numismatics. Coin collectors and enthusiasts actively seek out coins with errors because they are so rare and unique. Often, these coins are discovered when something goes wrong during the die striking process, where the coin's design is transferred onto the metal blank. If a coin is struck too lightly, too deeply, or with a misaligned die, it can result in a variety of errors, such as double strikes, off-center strikes, or other irregularities. These errors, though not common, have a significant impact on the value of the coin in the collector market. In the case of the 1984 penny, a number of these error coins were minted, and over time, they would become highly desirable to collectors. The most valuable of these errors were those that were struck with double dies, an error where the design was imprinted multiple times on the coin, giving it a doubled appearance. These double die errors can occur when the dies used to strike the coins are misaligned or not properly calibrated, resulting in an overlapping design. One of the most notable examples of a 1984 penny with a double die error was a coin where the doubling effect was especially pronounced on the date, 1984, and the inscription, Liberty, on the obverse. This particular penny, with its clearly visible doubling, stood out among others and quickly caught the eye of collectors. Coins like this one became known as the 1984 double die penny, and as the years went by, their rarity and desirability increased dramatically. However, these were not the only pennies from 1984 that would catch the attention of collectors. In addition to the double die errors, other irregularities were found, including coins with off-center strikes, where the design was slightly misaligned on the coin. These off-center pennies, like their double die counterparts, were incredibly rare and drew the interest of coin enthusiasts who sought out unique and unusual pieces to add to their collections. As the 1984 penny began to gain recognition in the numismatic world, it became clear that certain versions of the coin had an extraordinary potential for value. Collectors began to hunt for the rare double-die error pennies and other unusual variations of the 1984 design, and the price of these coins began to steadily rise. What was once a coin worth only 1 cent was now becoming worth hundreds, and in some cases, thousands of dollars. The true value of these error pennies came to light during various coin auctions, where collectors eagerly bid for the opportunity to own one of these rare and unique coins. The market for error coins, especially those from the U.S. Mint, is known for its fierce competition. Prices can escalate quickly when a highly coveted coin is up for sale. And in the case of the 1984 double-die penny, the stakes were high. One particular 1984 double-die penny, in near-pristine condition, made headlines when it sold for a staggering $140,000. Yes, a penny that was once worth only 1 cent was now worth a fortune, $140,000. The auction that saw this incredible sale was a highly anticipated event, with collectors from around the world vying for the chance to own this rare piece of American numismatic history. The bidding war was intense, but in the end, it was the highest bidder who walked away with the coin. So, why did the 1984 USA 1-cent penny become so valuable? It wasn't just the design that made it special. It was the rarity of the minting errors, particularly the double-die and off-center strikes, that made these coins stand out. The fact that so few of these error coins were minted made them highly sought after by collectors, and their unique characteristics set them apart from the millions of regular pennies in circulation. In the world of numismatics, the value of a coin is determined by factors like rarity, condition, and historical significance. The 1984 penny has all of these qualities, which is why it has become a prized possession for collectors. And, as we've seen with the sale of the $140,000 penny, the demand for these error coins shows no signs of slowing down. As we conclude our journey through the fascinating world of the 1984 penny, we are reminded of how something as simple as a small error in the minting process can lead to a coin becoming worth far more than its face value. The 1984 double-die penny is a prime example of how rarity and uniqueness can transform an ordinary object into something extraordinary. So, next time you find yourself handling a handful of pennies, take a moment to examine them closely. You never know what hidden treasures might be waiting to be discovered in your pocket change. After all, as the 1984 penny has proven, even the smallest, most unassuming coins can one day become priceless artifacts of American history, worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Just ask the collector who walked away with that rare 1984 double-die penny for a record-breaking $140,000. Let's journey back to 2002, a time that may feel recent but holds significant changes in the world of American coinage. The year was marked by significant events both in the U.S. and abroad. At home, the nation was still reeling from the aftermath of the September 11 attacks the previous year. The world was changing, and so were the designs and minting processes of American coins. The 2002 penny was, for most people, just another iteration of the beloved 1-cent piece, which had been circulating for over a century. But what many didn't know was that there was more to this coin than meets the eye. Like many other years, the U.S. Mint continued producing pennies with the iconic image of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, gracing the obverse, front, of the coin. This design, first introduced in 1909, had been the hallmark of the penny for nearly a century. However, while the 2002 penny seemed to be just another example of the long-running Lincoln Memorial series, it marked a transitional period for American coinage. The U.S. Mint had been exploring new ways to refresh the look of the penny, which had grown somewhat static in its design. While 2002 was not the year that brought major changes to the penny's appearance, it was nonetheless a year of interest due to some unique occurrences in the minting process that would later drive up the coin's value. Let's take a closer look at the design of the 2002 penny. On the obverse, we see the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln. His likeness, sculpted by Victor David Brenner, has been the face of the penny for over a century. Lincoln's dignified profile is set against the inscription, "In God We Trust," with "Liberty" on the left and the date of mintage, 2002, on the right. Beneath the date, there is also the mint mark indicating the specific U.S. mint facility where the coin was struck. On the reverse side of the coin, we find the traditional Lincoln Memorial design. The memorial, a symbol of the nation's reverence for Lincoln and his leadership during the Civil War, had been the reverse design of the penny since 1959. For many collectors and Americans alike, the memorial was a familiar and comforting symbol, representing unity and the enduring principles that Lincoln stood for. However, 2002 was also a significant year because it marked the beginning of the end for the Lincoln Memorial reverse. While 2002 was the last year in which this design would appear on the 1-cent coin, it would be replaced by a new reverse design in 2009 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. As such, the 2002 penny has a unique place in history, being the final year for this iconic design. For collectors, this made the 2002 penny an especially significant coin, a piece of history that would be forever tied to the end of an era. But as with many pieces of coinage, the true allure of the 2002 penny lies not in its design, but in the circumstances surrounding its production. You see, while most of the pennies struck in 2002 were produced without incident, a handful of them were subject to errors during the minting process. As is common in the world of coinage, minting errors can occur due to flaws in the production process, resulting in coins that differ from the typical design or characteristics of the majority. One of the most sought-after variations of the 2002 penny is the famous 2002 AM error. This is where the letters A and M in the word America on the reverse of the coin are positioned unusually close together. Normally, there is a noticeable gap between these two letters, but in the case of the AM error, they are pressed too closely together, creating a distinctive and unusual appearance on the coin. This particular variation was not widely known at first, but it quickly became one of the most valuable and iconic error pennies in modern numismatic history. The AM penny was a result of a die pairing error. In essence, the die used to strike the reverse side of the coin had been improperly paired with an obverse die, leading to a misalignment in the design. This slight misalignment led to the two letters in America being closer together than they should have been. It may seem like a small detail, but to collectors, it was an extraordinary discovery. Coins like this were rare, and the 2002 AM penny became an incredibly sought-after piece for coin enthusiasts around the world. The rarity of the 2002 AM penny only grew over time. As more and more collectors became aware of the error, they began actively searching for these coins. Some collectors found them in circulation, while others scoured coin rolls and amassed collections in the hope of uncovering one of these valuable pennies. Over time, it became clear that only a limited number of the AM pennies had been minted, making them a truly exceptional find. The value of these error pennies skyrocketed as demand increased. What was once a penny worth only 1 cent quickly transformed into a coin worth hundreds, and in some cases, even thousands of dollars. As more error coins surfaced, the market began to establish a premium value for the 2002 AM penny. Coins in pristine condition were particularly prized, with examples of this error penny being sold at auction for amounts that far exceeded the initial value of the coin. The big reveal, however, came when a particularly well-preserved example of the 2002 AM penny fetched a jaw-dropping price of $125,000. Yes, a penny that had once been worth just 1 cent was now worth over $100,000. This sale, which took place at a high-profile coin auction, was a defining moment in the world of numismatics. The bidding was fierce, with collectors from across the globe vying for a chance to own such a rare and unique piece of American coinage. The sale of the 2002 AM penny for $125,000 was a testament to the power of rarity and collector interest in numismatic treasures. A coin that many people would have dismissed as just another penny in their pocket had now become one of the most valuable modern coins ever sold at auction. And while the 2002 penny had initially been part of the everyday change in the pockets of millions of Americans, it had now become an extraordinary artifact, an example of how small, seemingly insignificant details can have a profound impact on the world of coin collecting. In the world of numismatics, collectors know that rarity, condition, and history are key factors in determining a coin's value. The 2002 AM penny has all of these qualities, and its place in history is forever secured as one of the most valuable modern-era coins ever to be discovered. So, the next time you reach for your change and see a penny, remember this story. It's a reminder that even the smallest, most common coins can carry hidden value and become something truly extraordinary. What once was just a penny in your pocket could someday be worth thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands, just like the remarkable 2002 close AM penny that fetched $125,000 at auction. As you turn over that simple copper coin, take a moment to examine it closely. You never know, you might be holding the next big discovery in the world of numismatics.